just about to start my Skillshare class. It's the weekend, so babies at our daddies. And this video is sponsored by Skillshare, but if you aren't aware what Skillshare is, it's an online learning community full of thousands of classes for literally anything you can think of. So there's one for knitting, anything sort of musical, creative writing, professional things, marketing, animation. But they've started this new thing so it's called a learning path. So it's a collection of videos that help you in a specific area. So I'm using the learning path for creative professionals. So I've already completed the one for organization and planning for creative freelancers, because I find that I'm finding really bad at that. I've also completed creative productivity, kickstart and sustain any product. So I'm just about to start pricing and negotiation for creative freelancers, because sometimes you don't know how to price your work. I mean, the majority of the time, if you're doing like something in a creative sphere, I know for example my sister who's a musician, a lot of times you're not even getting offered anything. You have to basically put a price on what you think that you're worth, and usually we're underselling ourselves or undervaluing ourselves, particularly women. So knowledge is power, and these things do empower us to be able to make better decisions in terms of the business side, I suppose, of our creative pursuits. There's loads of different types of learning paths for anyone. How to use Adobe, visual communication, so how to master PowerPoint presentations.
The first 500 people to click my link in the description will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. Thank you Skillshare for sponsoring this video.
I have some spots on my face because I went out on Saturday. I wasn't drinking. I was out on Saturday. When I got home, I fell asleep with my makeup. I just thought, fuck it, I'm changing my sheets tomorrow, who cares? But I'm paying for it now. I've been loving Juliana Shields' TikToks where she does makeup routines. She's so informative in how she actually does them, because usually it's just people doing it rather than telling you how to adapt makeup to suit your own face. And she knows about products and skin, and it's just so helpful. I've been using less foundation because that's what she does to make it look more natural, because I usually just cake it on. I wanted to talk about my relationship with children, and it's such a weird one because I think most people experience this where you don't know how to interact with the child. Once you have your own, you kind of get the knack of it and you know how to speak to them. But I think that was because when I was a child, my parents didn't talk to us like children, they just spoke to us like we were adults. And then we kind of spoke to them, like I didn't have any boundaries with my parents. They know everyone who I've had sex with, they know like what drugs I've done. I wouldn't hold anything back, if that makes sense. And then that also affected the way that I interact with other people's parents, because I would feel so awkward and that I had to be really polite and basically shut my mouth because I didn't know how to create boundaries with adults. Getting rejected by a child is way worse than getting rejected by an adult, because they basically just go off of your energy. But since I had my daughter, even when she was first born, I was kind of awkward. I didn't know how to interact with her. And a newborn you don't, because they're not receptive to sound really. When they're first born, they can't really make eye contact and all of that, because so they're not really interacting with you. So I was kind of just in shock. Don't kill her, you know. Whereas now, obviously, we're best mates and I know like much more about kids. But the same thing is when I was going to like toddler play groups, I would just dress like Miss Rachel so that I would seem more approachable and friendly to other children, because I wanted to make everyone feel comfortable, you know. And then I noticed, and I thought this was because I was breastfeeding, and you know, other babies can smell breast milk. Like it used to be normal hundreds of years ago, you know this saying, it takes a village. It used to be normal hundreds of years ago for different women to breastfeed different children. It wasn't that abnormal, you know, whereas now it would be perceived as kind of odd to do that. Even though I know friends who have breastfed other babies, and I've donated breast milk to other babies, but I haven't breastfed another child before. I've offered. I don't think it should be abnormal, because it's a very natural thing to do. But anyway, I know other people might be shocked by that if you haven't breastfed or if you don't have children, because I think if I heard that before, I'd be like, wait, what? So I thought that toddlers and babies liked me because I was getting a really good reaction, even when I wasn't trying, of babies like reaching for me and wanting to come over to me and hold my hand and stuff like that, which is such a big compliment, because it's like when you see a cat out in public and you're like and it usually runs away, but sometimes it will come over and like let you pet it. It was because I heard it like that when little kids and babies are gravitating towards you. It happened on like 4 occasions where a baby would be like do you know? And I thought it was because I was breastfeeding and they could smell the breast milk. And now obviously I've stopped breastfeeding. I was like, oh, they're not gonna, I'm disposable to them, they're not gonna care about me anymore. But I brought my daughter to the playground the other day, and there was a little boy, and he kept coming over and giving me piles of sticks. And then at one stage he just took my hand and then dragged me over to the swing to push him on the swing. So I got my daughter in one swing and him in the other, and I was just pushing the two of them, this random child. I don't even know what his name was. It's so nice being accepted by a child because unlike adults, they don't care how much money you make, they don't care what you do for a living, they don't care where you come from. The expectations are really low and they're so accepting for just who you are as a person, if that makes sense. For just making them feel safe and looked after. So I think that's really nice. I love children now. I think beforehand I would have, just because I felt so uncomfortable by them, I would have had a weird, just distant relationship with children in general. After having my daughter and, you know, wanting children to be kept safe and protected, I really admire them, and you can learn a lot from them as well, from their perspective, because we're constantly trying to go back to how we used to think as children, because we're not tainted by doubt and failure and fear, if you know what I mean. So it's really actually helpful for your mindset, I think, to be around kids, because it gives you really uplifting encouragement being around children, because they do believe in themselves and believe that anything can happen, and believing in magic and stuff like that, which is really good as an adult to keep your spirits up and to keep you happy, because we can get a bit pessimistic and negative just from our learned experience. I'm reading Poor by Katrina O'Sullivan at the moment. I'm only halfway through, but the sentiment of what I'm getting from the story and my interpretation of it is how weighted our words are towards children, and how I think there needs to be more emphasis on the community in being responsible of protecting and taking care of children, especially those that are less fortunate than us. It was more of a focus on teachers and social workers and how much they actually affect children's lives, but that can apply to literally anyone in the community. I mean, like, it could be your neighbour, it could be a child that you see in a toddler playgroup, it could be a child, because there's so much, especially in really urbanised busy cities, I feel like anyway, there's a lot more, there's a much bigger tendency as to be a bystander and like not intervene, because we're so disconnected from each other. And it's probably because we don't want to feel like we're intruding either as well. It's probably out of politeness where we're like, they might tell us to fuck off. But even at the risk of being rejected, I think we should always still offer to help. And it was really interesting as well. I saw a thing about Japan, and you know, they let their kids like go to the shop on their own, and the whole community takes a part in protecting children and making sure that they're okay. So that's why it's safe enough for kids to like go to the shop on their own if they're under the age of 10. It's like not abnormal to see little kids on the tube on their own or going to the shop on their own. Back in the day, obviously, I'd be going down to the shop when I was like 8, you know, to get stuff from the shop for my parents, but you wouldn't really see that now, just because probably access to information and news, I don't know if it actually is getting more dangerous for children, or it's just because we know more about the dangers. Does that make sense? You know, if you have roommates, I feel like you have such a closer bond with the people that you're living with. You're able to maintain friendships really, really well if you're living independently, because you can, especially with cost of living, you can have people over for, maybe I should save myself speaking about this for my podcast, but anyway, you can have people over for dinner or drinks in your house, you know, and it's much easier to bond with people if you're in a comfortable environment. That's what I find anyway. Even having sleepovers with your friends, like when I lived with my best friend Aisling, who's actually in Australia now, but we used to like share my single bed when we lived in Dublin, when we were renting in Dublin, and it was during lockdown, so neither of us were going to work obviously, and we'd be sitting out on the porch journaling together and playing music, but we were able to spend every single day together in our own like habitat. But it transcends that friendship, I think, if you're living together and you're able to have your own space with each other. If you were living with your parents before you moved to Australia, like how different do you feel in your head, and like in terms of independence, in terms of friendships and relationships, how has that impacted you and the way that you interact with people? I don't think I could ever emigrate, because obviously my daughter's dad is here, so I couldn't be far away from him. All my friends that are in Australia don't have children, so we'd be having completely different lifestyles. I think it would be naive of me to think that if I moved to Australia I'd be having the same life as them, but it would be nice to have some sun, you know, to be able to get a tan. Am I gonna go to any festivals? Because I was thinking about it, I would probably only go if I was able to glamp. See, I love camping. That's not a problem. I love camping. It's not like I have any snobbery towards that, but it's like the drunk people tripping over your head or like getting sick at the edge of your tent sort of thing I wouldn't like. If Saoirse was playing at one of them, I'd definitely try to go. But other than that, there's not anything else like pushing me towards doing it. I had a great book month this March. Well, actually, it started out a bit slow. It was going downhill for a long time. I chose this for my book club, The Wren by Anna Enright, because I loved The Gathering by her. I love the style of writing she uses. I love the prose. It's kind of poetic in the way that she writes, really lyrical and quintessentially Irish sort of storytelling, I think. And for some reason, this just fell short for me. I couldn't keep track of what was going on. It dragged. I didn't love it, and then I was kind of ashamed of myself because I picked this for my book club. I feel bad in case other people didn't like it as well. It took me ages to then choose the next book for my book club. But if you want to join my book club, it's linked down below. We're doing Megan Nolan's Ordinary Human Failings because it does have really good reviews, so I don't think it's going to let us down. I just picked this up randomly in a bookshop. I didn't read any reviews before I picked it for the book club, so I should have prepared beforehand and thought about it. I didn't love this one. It was just really disappointing. It was disappointing, and it was boring. Oh yeah, All the Broken Places by John Boyne. I borrowed this off my friend. I showed it a lot in my last video. If you like The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, you'll like this. It's following on the storyline, the story of the sister character from The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, so it has a really good extra perspective that we didn't get in the first novel. The way John Boyne writes, he's just really good at telling a story, really good at character development. Even though there's an anti-hero protagonist, sort of, you can resonate with them and feel sorry for them in a way. It gives layers to a character. It's just, he's really good at what he does. I really love John Boyne. Yeah, so this is a great book. I devoured this. Such a page turner. Really, like, even if you're not a huge reader, I feel like you would love this. Just the way the fast pacedness of the story. You're satisfied and satiated after you read this. Like, it's a really good story. Then I read Breakdown by Kathy Sweeney. She was able to capture Irish humour really well. This would have been a great choice for my motherhood book club because it's hard to describe. You know, the way I thought it was interesting the way the protagonist in this book she's never given a name and we don't know what her name is, and I thought that was really telling for how much mothers are stripped of their identity and we hold on to so much responsibility, and if we fall out of line even once, the reaction is much sterner and stronger against us than it would be for men or for fathers. So it was kind of the fantasy that mothers think of where they want to run away and have freedom and abdicate from all their responsibilities. I just really enjoyed this book, and it kind of left you thinking at the end of it as well. And the way she writes as well is really interesting. I've never read a book that was written like this before. Then I read... you want this on? Do you like it? Oh, this is a good follow-on read from Breakdown as well. Similar themes of like a mother running away and abdicating from her responsibilities, but this one is a lot darker. Family drama, suspenseful, but also beautiful descriptions of like nature, and again like those themes of escaping from your everyday life and kind of abdicating responsibilities and just being free, being alone with your thoughts. So there's a lot of internal monologue, a lot of what's that called? You're with her for all her thought processes while it's like live streaming, processing a trauma that you're going through. I found this really interesting, and there's a follow-on book from this as well, like a next one in a series called Earth, which is coming out in April, and I actually went into Hodges Figgis looking for it, but they didn't have it available. But I will definitely be reading the next one. This was really good. Fast-paced read. Oh, shoo! On my head! Shoo! Silly sausage. I have about 40 pages left of Pour. Really, really good read. Oh my, incredible story. And I was talking about it, I think, earlier in this video, but it really reiterates the weight of... Shoo, thank you! The weight of adults' words for children and how much it affects how much the adults around you can affect your inner thoughts and your self-esteem, and those words, like your parents' words, people's insults. What? Yogurt? Mama? Yeah? Mama? Yeah, do you want a hug? On? Oh, you want me to put it on? Did you like that? It was kind of similar to Educated by Tara Westover, just the way that it was written, and also the impact that education has on people and the privilege education is, and how it can just change the trajectory of someone's life completely. Really prolific writer, incredible story. Katrina O'Sullivan is really admirable. I did go on I had a 2-week slump basically after Anne Enright. I got this as in a yogurt. Here, do you want a hug first and then we'll go downstairs? Come here. So I got this as a PR package from Penguin. I think I've read a Michael McGee book before, but I can't remember. But it looks good. Sean is back in Belfast and back into old habits. Back on Mad All Nighters. It sounds like something I'd like. And then I bought this We Were Young by Neve Campbell. I love Neve Campbell's writing. I read one of her books, what's it called? This Happy. So I'm excited to read this. I really enjoy her writing. I picked up, well, me and my mum went to a bookshop together, and we split up, and then we met up at the end of it, and we both had Juno Loves Legs by Kyle Geary in our hands. So my mum bought it. She's going to read it first. She's loving it though at the moment, and then she's going to lend it to me. Let's go.